it. These are just rumors. As I say, I'm not privy to any secret information. I just find it extremely extraordinary that Iran would be supporting Taliban. In fact, they are nervous. Part of the reason they have been making noises last few days, and I read Persian papers, they have been very nervous about this London conference wanting to co-opt the Taliban. They say this is bad. They don't want the Taliban to be co-opted because they think that their influence in the government would decrease. So as far as Iran is concerned and the Taliban, I think that really is a bit of a propaganda rather than a fact. The other one was about war against Taliban. Is the war against Islam? I honestly don't think so. I mean, ask the vast majority of the people in Afghanistan. They don't adhere to the extreme Wahhabi ideology of the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda. In fact, ask the majority of the people in Pakistan, they don't adhere to that ideology. As long as the Muslims are not prepared to admit that any radical movement which hijacks the name of Islam is not speaking for them and they should not support it just because it's anti-Western or anti-American, the problems will continue and the suspicion will continue. I, for one, believe that neither Al-Qaeda nor the Taliban speak for Islam. Fighting them, and I think this was really the problem with President Bush, 9/11 was a terrible terrorist act. It was not a war of culture. There were two conspiracy theories in America. A large minority of Americans still believe that 9/11 was a bit more complex. They have written books about it. I've listened to lectures about it. It was an insider job, it was CIA, it was Mossad, and so on and so forth. Now, I think that is nonsense. But the other conspiracy theory which has gained momentum in America is that it was an organized Islamic movement against the West. That is rubbish. The Muslim countries are fighting against these Russian forces. It was not a pan-Islamic kind of movement. They were terrorists organized by America. They were let down during Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait because they wanted to go and fight. They were just completely ignored and left alone after the Russians were kicked out. So now they are taking their vengeance from the West. They have nothing to do with Islam any more than the Ku Klux Klan has got to do with Christianity. Therefore, I think this is important for the West to understand. These people are not speaking for Islam. They are speaking for a terrorist group. And to turn it into the war on terror, first of all, made them warriors, which they are not, they are terrorists. And secondly, it co-opted, it brought a lot of the militant Islamics who saw that Islam is being used to attack these people to say what you are saying, a war against the Taliban is a war against Islam, let's join in. We really have to separate these two. There's a terrorist organization, and then there's a religion. The two of them do not mix. The last one was about 18 months or whenever. I think that, I hope, although I have got my doubts, that President Obama will stick to this. If he really sticks to this timetable and tells his generals, look here, this is the time that you have got. Within this period, you have to find a political solution. I think it can be done. A British general who later was forced to resign said to fight in Afghanistan, to fight the Taliban, you need 400,000, not 100,000. And you need between 20 and 30 years. Are Western people prepared for that kind of long-term, and probably it will take even longer? If not, the sooner we bring the tragedy to an end in a peaceful, orderly, managed way, the better for everyone.